This is a team that struggled to score consistently. They still have a positive run differential, but that doesn't matter because they don't have a positive win differential.
See Trent Rosecrans of The Athletic covers the Reds and also the Georgia Bulldogs.
Don't cover them anymore, but did once upon a time.
In your heart, you do. Thanks for coming on
Oh,
and talking about what we got.
yeah, thanks for having me. Not the happiest of days. Kind of like AJ said, this is a guy who, David Bell's one of the best people in this game, regardless of records on the field or off the field, and it's really from one of the best families in the game. And you guys know David, you guys know Mike, you guys know Buddy. This it stinks. Basically, it stinks, and that's because this team did not live up to expectations. David, I'm sure, is the first to put a lot of that on his shoulders, and I guess Nick Kroll was the second.
I mean, let's get right into it. Is this fair? I mean, he was there the whole time this team was building. Last year, this team showed incredible potential. This team, all these guys from the minor leagues made some moves. Is this fair? Just a 1 year thing, or was this year that bad that they're like, all right, well, we're going to eat the last 2 years of your contract and move on?
No, it's not fair. But you guys know this game's not fair. This business isn't fair. And it was a decision that was made, and the team will be moving on. And I don't know. I can't say I believe they will be better because David Bell's not here. But that's what the team decided, and that's where they're moving. So it's, fair, like my father used to always love to tell me, is what you pay to ride the bus.
True. All right, Citron, listen, I love David Bell. He was a coach when I was in St. Louis. He's a great human being. Like you said, I knew his father, Buddy, well from when he was with the White Sox, and he was the minor league guy in the White Sox and around all the time. But my question is, this is a performance-based business, okay? If I didn't hit or I didn't play well, guess what? I got released, sent down, whatever you want, DFA'd, whatever you want to call it, right? And David Bell had 6 years, correct, to be there in charge. And yes, they slowly got better. They got better. Then they get to the point where they spend a little bit of money. And yes, I know they had injuries. I know they were beaten up, banged up, whatever you want to call it. But is this all on David Bell, or is this on the Reds organization in whole? Because there wasn't development from a lot of guys. This team strikes out way too much. I mean, Elly De La Cruz is going to lead the league in strikeouts and stolen bases, right? A lot of their prospects haven't taken the next step. Their pitchers continuously get hurt on crazy stuff like the one guy who can't bend his fingers or whatever it is, because I think it's Lodolo, his fingers are stuck or something. I've never heard of such a thing, right? So is this an organizational thing, or is David Bell paying the price for an organizational misstep?
Yeah, I mean, the Jeimer Candelaria signing, that's their big signing, and I don't know where he ever really made sense. And a lot of eggs were put in that basket. Frankie Montas was a reclamation project, and he had mixed results. He's gotten better with the Brewers, which is something that's happened for many years. And this is a team that did not make the next step. And I don't know that the manager is exactly responsible for young players not developing. And Elly De La Cruz is one of those guys, probably the best case scenario of development. He's going to lead the league in strikeouts and errors, which is a bad combination. Yet he still has a 347 on base percentage. So he is making up for it. Depending on which WAR you use, he's in the top 3 or 5 of position players. His defensive metrics are much higher despite the errors. And if that were the worst, David Bell would be preparing for a playoff run. It's almost everybody but Elly De La Cruz and the moves they didn't make forward. You saw regression. Will Benson, who leads this team and starts in the outfield, has a 40% strikeout rate. That's just mind-boggling at the big league level. I mean, Joey Gallo is blushing at that. This is a team that struggled to score consistently. They still have a positive run differential, but that doesn't matter because they don't have a positive win differential.
What are they going to miss about David Bell? All the time when we get guys getting fired, getting sent down as players, it's like, oh, but that's a huge piece of this. We talk about all the misgivings when somebody gets fired. What are they going to miss? Because I know what kind of mentality he brings, especially the impact he makes on young guys and that mentality to be a big leaguer. He's lived through this generation. So what are the things they're going to miss? And like they have to replace that plus something with the next manager.
I think a big part is consistency of message. David Bell's biggest thing to everyone was to be authentic and who they are, and I think maybe some guys couldn't live up to those expectations, or what gives that leeway that he gave to let people be who they are. Also, just kind of a guy who is always willing to listen. Hey, you want to know what kind of person David Bell is? This last week, I've been out because I've been sick. I've been tested positive for COVID over the last week. David sent me a text on Thursday just saying, "Hey, where have you been? How you doing? Everything okay?" And that's David Bell. I mean, and I'm not one of his players, so if he's doing that for me, you can imagine what he's doing for his players.
Trent, what's next? Let's. I mean, what's next?
Yeah.
I know. Listen, I hear the Skip Schumacher, but the White Sox want Skip Schumacher.
Well,
Other jobs are going to
I,
open. St. Louis, possibly, they might want Skip Schumacher. If the
who
Dodgers,
doesn't want
something. Yeah, everybody wants Skip Schumacher, right? So because he was there once as a Red, does that mean he automatically wants to go there, right? He was a Cardinal for
correct?
a long time. If that job opens, will he want to go there? So who else could possibly fit this job besides Skip? And is there somebody internally they'll look at, or will they go outside the organization? What do you think is next?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's funny. You always get these emails from betting services, and I got one today, and they had 17 names, which seems like a lot to me. Skip being the favorite, but I think Skip is probably the top of their choices. But like you said, Skip has choices. Does Skip want to go straight into another unknown? And I don't know that maybe he liked dealing with me so much that he's looking forward to doing it again and being there every day. But I think you have to have a better reasons than that to pick a job. You hear like Will Beneval, Miguel Cairo. I mean, among guys who are looking for that next step, or do you want to find a proven guy like a Don Mattingly? What if Aaron Boone isn't back in New York? We've heard that a lot. Speaking of longtime families in baseball, David Ross, again, another former Red. The name that's been around a lot for the last decade or two is Barry Larkin. Barry doesn't have big league experience managing or even minor league experience managing. He's done a lot of international baseball. He's done a lot of consulting. He's done a lot of work with guys one-on-one. But that's a pretty big leap for me for managing in the modern game. Heck, anybody with who's ever put on a chest protector and a catcher's mask might be under consideration. So maybe one of you two as well.
Yeah, AJ's already on the long list of White Sox potential candidates, and we had to put that to rest, or did we?
Listen, everybody, we got a major problem here. Half of our viewers are not subscribed. Let's go. All you got to do is click a button. Check it out. Hit that button. The problem will be gone. Let's go.
Hey FT fam, it's Alana Rizzo. I can't stop talking about Vuori. Vuori is perfect if you are sick and tired of traditional old workout gear. I wear Vuori in all settings, not just in the gym, because honestly, it's comfier than whatever you're currently wearing. No joke. I'm wearing Vuori daily leggings right now. They're high-waisted with the drawstring and cuffed ankles. They look good and they feel great. You're going to love them. Vuori is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they are offering 20% off your your first purchase. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at vuori.com/foul. That's VUORI.com/foul. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Go to vuori.com/foul and discover the versatility of Vuori clothing.
There's going to be more openings. Possibly, the Cardinals opening, they've fallen flat on their face this season. So if you look at these other openings that are possible, are the Reds a desired destination for people, or do you have to be a certain, because it's like, oh, you never want to go to this place because of this ownership. Is this an organization that will work with the next manager, or is this an organization that's saying, no, this is the team, you have to win, this is short-lived, and the feeling of what the organization is right now?
I mean, it's like anything, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I will say one of the things is you do know that if you're going to start with one player, Shohei Ohtani's your first pick. I don't know how many picks you get till you get to Elly De La Cruz, a guy who's still under team control for 4 more years, is 22, is talented as anybody not named Shohei Ohtani, and heck, I mean, you can throw him in that as well. So I think that's where it starts. You also look at a rotation that starts with Hunter Green, who, despite the injuries this year, took a huge step forward, made an all-star team for the first time until that last bit was in Cy Young consideration. Nick Lodolo has had some issues, but you also have Andrew Abbott. Rhett Lauder has been fantastic in his short stint. So you have some stability, some names and talent, maybe not stability, in the rotation. Where do you think Matt McClain is if he can come back? There's some talent. There's some money coming off the books. Heck, for the first time in a quarter century, they won't be paying Ken Griffey Jr. in 2025. Joey Votto will be off the books. Mike Moustakas. So there's some things to look forward to. This is still a young team, still some great talent. Tyler Stevenson behind the plate. Jonathan India is a guy that I think any manager would love to have in his lineup and in his clubhouse. So there are some pieces that make it appealing. I mean, I would much rather be here than, quite honestly, the White Sox. And really, when you look at what the Cardinals have, I would rather be here than there. So I think there are some. I don't think it's a job that is dismissed out of hand.
Okay, first of all, you're lying. You'd much rather be where the White Sox are. They just set history yesterday. Okay, so you'd much rather be making history, okay, than be a middle of the pack team. If you're going to go down, let's go down in flames. Okay, so now let me ask you this: does changing the manager fix the strikeout problem? Does changing the manager fix the we can't stay healthy in our starting rotation problem? So does there need to be organizational changes also? Because if you continue, think about you were talking about Elly De La Cruz. And for me, stolen bases are the most highly overrated thing in the history of WAR, right alongside of walks for me, right? Because walks and stolen bases are so heavily elevated in WAR. But does there need to be an organizational change? Because if Elly De La Cruz didn't strike out 250 times, he could steal 150 bases possibly. So is there a way to get him to say, hey, let's cut this down? Instead of 250, maybe make it 180 or whatever it is, and you could steal 50 to 70 more bases.
Well, I mean, he was still on base 35% of the time, which is pretty darn good. This is above average in baseball. You'd want that higher, and putting the ball in play more with that speed, you would get on base a little bit more. So yeah, and a lot of that is coming from not just development, but also player acquisition. There are players that they get that do strike out a lot, and that's something that is not ideal. I still believe that they're worth one out. And so, like, yeah, it is tough with Elly De La Cruz that he is leading the league in strikeouts, but he's also getting on base quite a bit. he is a game changer when he is on base. To make this about Elly De La Cruz is to me, just kind of missing the point. Like if Elly De La Cruz has the season that he has, where he's a top 3 position player in WAR, or top 5, or whatever you want, or whatever metric you want to use, Elly De La Cruz isn't your problem. When you're talking about the guy with the most starts in your outfield at 40% strikeout rate, yeah, that's a problem.
Okay, but hold on.
You look at their outfield and what do they have in the outfield?
See, Trent, hold on. I'm not making this about Elly De La Cruz. I'm making an organizational problem. You mentioned Benson. He strikes out. Listen, I've done a couple Reds games down the stretch. They strike out 14, 15, 16 times every single game. They went how many games? They went a bunch of games in a row with over 10-plus strikeouts. It is every night. So it's not just Elly, but I'm just using him as an example. Yeah, great. If you can get Will Benson down to 30% strikeouts, he might hit you 40 home runs, right? Mm-hmm. If you can get all these guys down. I'm just saying, I just use Elly because he's the biggest name.
Better outfielders, better options.
They don't.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm agreeing with you.
But then this is an organizational thing they need to change.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I said that again.
Okay, that's fair. I just want you to know I wasn't making it about Elly. Listen, Elly's a great player. I think Elly could be greater if he would figure out a way to cut down his strikeouts.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Especially
give two for you and give me one, Elly. You get 2 strikes, swing as hard as you want, and you get 2 strikes. Let's try to cut it down and put the ball in play and run.
But I think we've seen a real, when we're talking about the problem this year was you did not see steps forward. And Elly De La Cruz was the guy who made some really huge strides step forward. It's Noelvi Marte had a rough year.
And don't do steroids. Don't do steroids, Trent.
And there's probably a lot of history in the game that tells you that doing them is more beneficial than not. But he's once he came back, he's been a different player than the kid we saw last year. Matt McClain ends all season. There's been these issues with guys, and I think some of this is messaging, and maybe that's one thing that David Bell got in trouble with. Is David Bell is a positive person, and he's always looking for the best case scenario, and a lot of times he told us those best case scenarios. And when the players couldn't live up to those, it came back on him as opposed to, what was actually going to happen. They talked about Matt McClain possibly returning all year. I remember the second that surgery happened, I had a former player who had the same surgery just say, hey, don't worry about him the whole year because you just don't come back from that in a year. I've had that surgery. And just holding those hopes out there, I think is something that David Bell did, and not because for any malicious or any wrong reason. I think that's just who he is. He's always looking for the best case scenario, and sometimes you just don't even say it, and that would be better.
That's the best way, positive to a fault. C. Trent, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you having you on. Everyone check out C. Trent at C. Trent on X. And fortunately, we don't have enough time for any Georgia barbs today. But I think AJ's wallowing in his own Florida sorrow anyway.
The Gator sorrow speaks for itself.
Good Roll Tide! Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.